with full coverage of the Auburn Tigers,
Touchdown, Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide,
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama. Touchdown,
and everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of Sportz Blitz Live.
Hello, everybody. Good Tuesday evening out there to everybody, and welcome in to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Brett Pritchard and Luke Robinson here with you for a couple of hours here on this Tuesday night. Luke, good to see you. Glad to have everybody out there joining us, whether it be on Facebook Live, where you can comment away, or whether you're watching us statewide on Charter Communications out there or listening to us on the radio. We've got multiple ways to pull us in. So,
all kind of options.
And no doubt about it. So if you'd like to be part of the program, like I said, you can comment on Facebook Live throughout, or you can give us a call, 256-234-6221, just to kind of in this first segment get everybody going, and lots to talk about, obviously, tonight. Won't be able to get to all of it, I'm sure, but obviously headliner here around this area, Brian Harsin, no longer the head football coach at Auburn. Auburn does have an athletics director now in John Cohen that came over from Mississippi State. We'll talk about both of those in length, obviously. The SEC, some really, really big games this coming up weekend. Alabama-LSU is a top 10 matchup. They just revealed the top 25 college football playoff ranking for the first time this year. Alabama and LSU will be a top 10 matchup. And maybe the game of the year to this point coming up over in Athens, Georgia, between Georgia Bulldogs, who are number 3 in this initial ranking, and the Tennessee Vols, who have vaulted themselves from obscurity over the last 15 or 20 years all the way to number 1 here in the 2022 initial rankings. So,
you know, Brett, I was thinking about it on the way over here. For all the talk that the SEC is simply Georgia and Alabama, as far as I remember and know, the SEC is the only conference to have 4 different teams represented at number 1. Georgia, Bama, Mississippi State was the first number 1
Very
ever,
first one,
and now Tennessee.
Right.
And if you want to take it a step further and say Auburn and Ole Miss have been in the top 4, because Auburn was in a top 4 like in that very first week too.
2014.
And then so I mean there have been 6 representatives, and I was trying to remember if Florida was in the top 4 in 2020 when right before they lost to LSU. I don't think they were, but if they were, that'd be 7. I'm pretty sure I'm stuck on
That's
6.
half the conference if it is.
I mean that's pretty good. I mean considering Illinois hadn't sniffed it, Indiana hadn't sniffed it,
Purdue hadn't.
Purdue, Michigan State. These teams haven't
Penn
been
State
there.
hadn't, have they?
I don't know if
I don't think Penn State's
I don't
been
think
in it
Penn State has either. So I mean, my point is, this conference has had some representation,
Right.
At least more than others,
Right.
And I thought it was a mistake. I thought a couple of mistakes they made. It doesn't matter because it all works itself out.
It definitely is going to work itself out.
So I mean, there's no reason to have all this righteous indignation about it, but I would have definitely put Tennessee 1 based on resume, and I would have put Georgia 2. And the reason I would do that
because you want the 1-2 matchup.
First, you want the 1-2 matchup. Now
Right.
that's people would see through that, but I think the argument
But that's okay.
I think the argument is, hey, Georgia has a much better win than Ohio State does. Now they've both played some games that were a little iffy,
Right.
And Ohio State's defense hadn't been as good as Georgia's. Georgia's offense hadn't been as good as Ohio
Right.
State's. But the 49-3 win over what is now the number 8 Oregon team is a lot better than a 21-10 win at home over a Notre Dame team that's also lost to Marshall. So I feel like I would have made it 1-2. And also, here's the thing, Brett. If Georgia beats Tennessee, they're going to leapfrog to number 1 anyway.
Right.
So why not just go ahead and do
put
it
it
this
there.
way?
Yep.
And that way you avoid controversy.
There's several people discussing that online. And, I thought that the committee might do that, but they chose to go the route of a number 3 for Georgia. While we're on the topic, the top 4 ended up being – obviously, Tennessee 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, and surprisingly to me, Clemson. I know Clemson, they just have not looked very good all year, and they've seemed to be able to find ways to win, similar to TCU. TCU's figured out ways. They've fallen behind in games, and they've come back and all that. So you could put Clemson there at that number 4 spot. Again, things will work their way out over time because there's going to be plenty of football left to play. But we'll come back and talk about that a little bit later. The hot topic that I know you want to talk about tonight is World Series resumes. Between the Phillies and the Astros. NFL talk, NBA talk, if we have time. I don't think we will. And most of all, for all of us around here, high school playoffs, first round. We will talk about that in the next segment a little bit because some good matchups in the first round. Let's go ahead and talk about the game of the week. You'll be on the call of that statewide right here on WOTM. It will be Benjamin Russell versus Hueytown. I really think that's one. If you look at all the first round matchups throughout all classifications, Luke, this is maybe the marquee matchup. I mean, you match up two very high-powered offenses. Hueytown plays good defense. Benjamin Russell plays really good defense. Benjamin Russell with an 8-2 record. Hueytown with an 8-2 record. They'll go to Hueytown, and I think this one will be fun to watch. I mean, as far as both of these offenses and the way they're able to put points up, you got Gabe Benton for Benjamin Russell, who's a very highly touted junior quarterback. You got Earl Woods, who was Mr. Football last year in the state of Alabama and led Hueytown to a runner-up finish in the 6A final game last year against Clay Chauvel. You just got athletes all over the field. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, Michael Simmons, looking forward to seeing him play. I don't really get to see Benjamin Russell play a lot, even though I'm in this area all the time, simply because I'm usually doing the scoreboard show or something like that. And so I'm anxious to see them. Look, the only thing I can think is I hope the Benjamin Russell team that has shown up for those 8 wins shows up.
Right.
If the Benjamin Russell team that shows up for those 2 losses shows up, they'll get blown out of the water. I really believe that.
Well,
and because I'm going to tell you, Britt, I can only listen to you guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm counting on y'all.
Right.
But when I'm listening to y'all, and I've harkened back to those 2 losses, Benjamin Russell they imploded. I mean, they had so many mistakes that were correctable. But the problem is, like, one of those losses came just a few weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that Benjamin Russell plays. They don't have to play their A game to win. I don't think.
No.
But I think they need to. They cannot play like they played in those 2 losses.
No, I don't. I think in the playoffs, number one thing you got to do is take care of the football.
Right.
Number 2 thing is you can't shoot yourself in the foot with penalties, and those tend to be difference makers in playoff games more than not. And you know your opponent's going to be very good, and they know that who they're playing is going to be very good. So it's the team that usually makes the least amount of mistakes. I will say this about those 2 losses. The Homewood game was really a back-and-forth game. I thought it ended up being a very good football game. It was heavily slated penalty-wise toward Benjamin Russell. They corrected that as the year went on. The Pelham game, they weren't mentally ready to play, and I think if Coach Grider was here, it was a Thursday night game. It looked like our guys were checked out when they got there, and you can kind of have a feel sometimes. But this is a group that's never experienced playoffs. This team has never been to a playoff game. So the energy level is going to be high. I don't think you're going to have to worry about motivating this group. The thing that you do have to concern yourself with is not letting the moment be too big for you.
Well, and I think that's where I'm going back to, specifically thinking of the Pelham game. But even with the Homewood game, see, I think Benjamin Russell's better than those 2 teams.
They are better than both teams.
So to lose both of them, I know both of them were on the road, but in high school, the home crowd advantage shouldn't matter that much.
Right.
And so I feel like, honestly, this team should be 10-0.
They had a very good
You
chance
talk about
to
the athletes, you talk about the quarterback. And so what I'm hopeful of, and again, I don't mind saying it on air, I'm definitely pulling for Benjamin Russell. But what I'm hopeful of is they make a run here. I want them to go as far as they can, but I'm hoping it's at least a good run so that they are even more mentally prepared for this next year because they have a lot of juniors who are dudes. And so I'm thinking this can be a great primer for next year. I'm not discounting this year.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That
they can make things get out.
I don't want this to be a one and done when I don't think they're a one and done team. I think they're better than that.
Yeah, again, you take them one at a time, but if Benjamin Russell's able to win this game, Friday night, it sets up a potential matchup between them and the number 1 team in the state and Theodore. And look, Theodore, if you look at their scores, it's been very impressive. They had a big win over Saraland a few weeks ago for the region championship, 29-28. About week 5, I think, they played Opelika up here in Opelika, ended up pulling that victory off. So they've got some impressive wins on their resume. They beat St. Paul's last Friday 16-3. That wasn't that sexy of a win, but, this is the last game of the season. It didn't really mean a lot as far as any type of region standings or anything. So they may have kind of pumped the brakes a little bit, but you know what you're going to get, and a Theodore team's got as many athletes as Benjamin Russell has coming up here. I just hope we get a chance to see that matchup. That would be a fun one at the
And it would be here, right?
It would be here.
Now, I just said that the home field advantage doesn't matter much in high school football, and I believe that, with the exception of if you have to travel from Mobile to
4 or
Alex
5
City,
hours. Yeah.
I think it helps.
Right.
And vice versa. I mean, we've had to make Benjamin Russell's had to travel down
Several
to Spanish
times.
Fort more than once, and you know how big of a deal that is.
It is.
It can be. Look, I make that trip all the time, so I can tell you it can wear on you. So I hopeful Benjamin Russell can do this. I think they can. Like I said, I think they got the talent. I know they got the coach. And it's all about being mentally ready for this weekend because, see, this Hueytown team, they have been to a state championship.
That's right.
And they fought tooth and nail, and frankly, they were right there. It could have won this thing. And they've got the returning Mr. Football. So Benjamin Russell's going to have their mind right, because what I'm worried about if they don't, this won't be like a Pelham game or a Homewood game where they still have a shot towards the end.
Yeah.
It'll be much worse than that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think that's, and to give Hueytown a lot of credit. They lost earlier in the year, and one of the things that you look at from that region, it's a tough region. It's not an easy region. Hillcrest Tuscaloosa ended up winning that region. I know they've lost their quarterback. They'll be without him. I think they're without their running back here for the next, however long. I mean, if they can go 2 or 3 rounds, they might be able to get him back. But they've been battle tested. Again, like you said, this team, a lot of those guys made that 5-week run last year in the playoffs and played 15 games, and they had that much more football than a lot more teams out there, especially this Benjamin Russell team that didn't go to the playoffs last year. So it's going to be fun to watch. Earl Woods has his sights set on getting Hueytown back. I mean, this is his opportunity. I think he's committed to Jacksonville State to go and play. I think he will have a good career in college, but I know he's got unfinished business. They fell a little short, like we said, to Clay Chalkville last year, and I know he'd love nothing more than to get his team back and get another chance at it. So up against our first break of the program, stay tuned. More Sports Blitz Live right after this.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill and Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumberyard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
Don't be caught in a dirty vehicle. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing will have your vehicle or boat looking like brand new in no time, and you'll be back driving in style. They specialize in detailing, paint correction, gel coat restoration, and ceramic coating. Take it to the professionals at Lake Martin Mobile Detailing. Call them today at 256-794-2328 or stop by and see them at 702 McCarty Road in Dadeville. Mention this ad and receive $10 off. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing for your cleanest vehicles around.
Harold Orthodontics of Alex City has one simple mission: provide the region's most advanced diagnostic technology for you and your family's orthodontic and air passageway needs. At Harold Orthodontics, it's not just beautiful smiles, but revolutionary options for your family's orthodontic needs, as well as sleep apnea and jaw joint disorder relief. Dr. Harold and his caring staff provide the most accurate diagnosis to relieve the pain or frustration of sleep apnea and TMJ discomfort. Trust Harold Orthodontics. Call for a consultation at 256-234-6353.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live here on this Tuesday night. Let's go to the phone lines for the first time tonight.
Caller on there. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Or the night or whatever.
Yeah, it is night now.
I'm glad that I'm going to get to see Benjamin Russell Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for the program, definitely, to be the premier game of the week, the first round, the playoffs. Of course, we'll have our NFHS broadcast and the broadcast here on 97.5 that myself and Randy will be doing. But the statewide broadcast, Luke will be on that call, so we're excited that the program will get that exposure Friday.
Well, it's hard, you know me. And I don't like to go out of town by myself. And a lot of times, you know, I don't get some people don't want to go, and I don't get to go. But I'm glad they're going to be on TV. I said David been on twice on that channel, and I think it's about time for Benjamin Russell to get on it. And I'm really glad.
Now they've been replayed. They've been replayed twice. They haven't been. I don't think they've been live on there twice.
Yeah, I watched Hueytown and Gardendale last Thursday night, and Hueytown really put it on Gardendale.
You know, that's
Benjamin Russell has better luck than who they were playing in that first one.
They play Southside Selma.
Southside Selma at Dadeville.
They are at Dadeville.
Okay. And tell Luke don't give up on Nick Saban, because I've seen him a bunch of times just lose one game, went on to go and win the national championship. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, he's washed up. I think it's time for him to move on. He's lost it.
Okay.
Thank you, bud.
Okay, okay.
I talked him into it. He said, okay. So,
No, well, yeah, I'm not giving up on Saban just yet. I think that's fine. Anyway, going back to Gardendale, Gardendale had just come off a big victory at Mountain Brook.
They did.
And
they shot themselves in the foot like 4 times in that game.
You got to think, again, they had a little
Kelby Collins is the real deal.
Yeah, Kelby Collins is good.
No, he is the real deal. I watched him. I watched most of that game, and I think he probably was up in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 tackles in that game, and really unblockable up front, and the way he was able to play the football. And he played smart football in that game. I watched, it just wasn't him blowing off the end as a pass rusher every time. I mean, he did a really good job of sealing the edge and, squatting a lot of times in zone coverage and coming back and then understood when he needed to attack and when he didn't need to attack. He's just a smart football player. Is he committed to Florida?
Yes.
Yeah, Florida getting a big time player there if he stays with them. And
they could use him right now. They just kicked Brenton Cox off the team, and he's decided to just go ahead and declare for the NFL draft.
Well, whatever.
I mean, if you're not on the team, I guess why not?
I'm getting free reign, right? Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about these high school matchups here, and then we'll move on. If you got any comments or questions throughout the show as you tune in and you want to ask us, please feel free to do so. We'll start in 7A, Luke. We won't hit all of them, but a couple that stand out as far as teams you want to watch. Auburn will be hosting Fairhope. That's an 8-2 Fairhope team that'll go to Auburn. I don't think it will be a problem for Auburn, but that is a good football team coming up to play Auburn.
Yeah, it's 7A, man. You just get no breaks. Fairhope, all I can think about right now with Fairhope is Riley Leonard, the alum that is quarterbacking Duke right now, and he led them to a big victory over Miami 2 weeks ago. And, man, that guy is such an athlete. He would have been a good basketball player for Alabama Auburn, and obviously I think he'd have been an okay quarterback. I mean, he's not usurping Bryce Young, but I think he could certainly be Bryce Young's backup.
No, I think so. I mean, he's a very good player. Just a couple more. Hoover will be hosting Bob Jones, and Thompson will be hosting Huntsville. I think Vestavia is a team that could. They got to play Austin. They got to go on the road, but this is a dangerous 6-4 Vestavia team. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to Austin, won the game, matched up with Thompson next week in the second round, and possibly give Thompson all they want in that game. So we'll just kind of have to watch that one and see. In 6A, as we mentioned, Benjamin Russell will have the feature game with Hueytown. That's an 8-2 versus a 7-3. Defending champs Clay Chaltville will host Parker. Here's a good football game. Wetumpka travels to Saraland. Wetumpka 7-3, Saraland 9-1. Not to say that Hillcrest Tuscaloosa can't progress through the playoffs without their starting quarterback, but we all know how important that quarterback is on every level. Calera is a sneaky team. They're 4-6. They're in Region 3 in that Benjamin Russell region. They've gotten better as the year has gone along. Can they go to Hillcrest and compete? Well, we'll see. I mean, the thing is that Calera's got several good athletes that can go the distance from anywhere on the field. If Hillcrest can't seem to get things going with a guy that's a backup, Calera might be in a good situation there. So also in 6A, it's a 5-5 Oxford team going to Gardendale 7-3. So that's a couple of matchups. Also, I want to mention Spanish Fort going to Pike Road, and Pike Road I think is actually favored in that game, Luke. In 5A football, some teams around this area. Let me just give a shout out real quick. And they did a feature on a local news station out of Montgomery yesterday on Elmore County. Elmore County 7-3 on the season. They've got to go to a 9-1 Demopolis team who is very good, obviously. But Kyle Caldwell inherited this team, just took over as the head coach this year. This Elmore County team was 0-10 last year, Luke. They're 7-3 this year. And we all know what kind of person Kyle is, what kind of football player he was. Obviously, he's showing that he's a really, really good football coach and has gotten those kids to buy in, change their mindset up there, and he has them in the first round. And I'm sure he's telling them, look, let's go up there and just throw it all out on the field because nobody gave us a chance to even be near the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and look, if there's any coach that can get everybody fired up for that, I think it's him. I mean, look, he's number one with a bullet, if you ask me. I mean, he's bucking for a bigger job here sooner rather than later. And again, I know Elmore County folks may not like to hear that, but
that's the truth.
They're going to be some teams around the state that take notice of him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A couple more. Ramsey 8-2 will host Southside Gadsden. UMS Wright finished the season 10-0. Terry Curtis now the winningest.
Tied for.
Well, tied. So
Buddy Anderson.
Which technically it makes him the winningest.
Yeah.
But
all he's got to do is win this first round game.
That's right. We win this first round game, and they'll have Headland coming in at 6-4. All of them are important, but back in the back of his mind.
R.I.P. Headland, man. I mean, how would you like to be the team that's in the way of his being the winningest coach of all time by himself?
Not a good draw. Here's a good game. Faith Academy will go to Eufaula in 5A. That's an 8-2 versus a 7-2. So that one could be a pretty good matchup there. Let's go down to 4A and look at some of these games. Luke, Catholic Montgomery hasn't really had a close game this year. They have Bayside Academy, who's usually really good, but they're 6-4 this year. Anniston's a good football team. They're 9-0. They'll have Sipsey Valley. Obviously, Hanley has been good. That one loss for Hanley was to Anniston. Those are the three teams that stand out. Aniana's 8-1. They were the runner-up last year to Viger. But this Catholic team, it's going to take, in my opinion, them playing bad for them to lose a game.
I think it's going to take more than that. It's going to take them playing bad and the other team playing so far above their head. I don't look after what they did to Andalusia. I'm just wondering who can get in their way.
Yeah, they just kind of ran all over them, and everybody kind of thought that one might be a really good game, and it just didn't end up being that. In 3A football, look, I know we're maybe a little biased around this area, but Davil is looking like one of the top teams in the state. In 3A. They're 9-0. I think they're number 6 in the final poll. They'll have Southside Selma, who's pretty good. They're 6-4. They've got a pretty dynamic offense. They've got a good quarterback. I think he threw for 500 yards this past Friday. And he was a converted defensive lineman to quarterback. How about that story?
That's a great story.
So he's going to go in, take the Southside Selma team, is 6-4. You know, Dave will struggle a little bit with Wicksburg as a 2A football team last week, Luke.
Again, I discount that in the sense that, you know, it's sort of a throwaway game. I know coaches probably don't want to hear that, but I mean the players know, and the players are trying to get ready for that first round. And I feel like Daville's going to play a lot better. And man, you want to see. If Auburn's been worried about attendance, all they got to do is let Daville get to one of those games. They'll see that place fill up pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt. Daville would. Everybody that's been in Daville in the past will be going to that football game. A couple more games of note. Oakman will go to Piedmont. The reason I bring that up, Piedmont 8-2, Madison Academy's 8-2. They'll have Phil Campbell. I kind of knew Benjamin Russell early in the season or before the season started. They had that jamboree game with Madison Academy, and we knew what Madison Academy was bringing back, and their quarterback and their running back and that really, really good linebacker. I think he's a sophomore. They finished the season 8-2, and I kind of saw how Benjamin Russell played against them and felt like, hey, man, Benjamin Russell got a chance to be pretty good. Even though they're a 3A team, we always know what they put out on the field. Randolph County will host Alabama Christian. Houston Academy is undefeated, 10-0. But they'll welcome in Mobile Christian, who's 3-7. Don't let that record deceive you. That's a 4 forfeited loss team, Mobile Christian. So Mobile Christian could go to Houston Academy and pull the upset there. All right, a couple more games, and that will run down in 2A and 1A, and we'll be done. Thorsby will go to Reeltown. That's a 7-3 versus an 8-1. Fife is 10-0. I believe this is 12 consecutive years for Fife winning 10-plus games.
That's amazing. I mean, the consistency is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it moving up a class and then going back down to 2A as well. All right, in 1A, some games to look at. Elba is 10-0. That's a good football team. They'll take on Southern Choctaw. Brantley has been at the top of the rankings a lot this year. They're 8-2. They'll take on Choctaw County. Linden 8-1. Leroy 8-1. Maplesville 7-3. Luke, here's those common names that we hear year in and year out in 1A football.
Yeah, that's right. Maplesville used to always be there, and you know, there always will be there, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. So stay tuned here on the HSA Radio Network on Friday night at 10 o'clock. Are you going to try to make it for the scoreboard show?
I'm going. That's my plan.
And double duty, man. Call the game and then get here for the scoreboard show on Friday. It's always fun in playoffs. It's, you know, you lose, you go home. The winner moves on. So we'll be talking about those first round matchups and how they came out on Friday night at 10 o'clock. So that's going to take us to our next break. Stay tuned. More Sports Blitz Live right after this.
22 years selling the best brands. Opelika RV Center, Highway 280 Opelika, or shop us online 24/7 at opelikaRV.com.
You won't believe the deals you receive at Opelika RV.
Growing your business isn't just one thing. It's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, their compact equipment provider.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto, central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Looking for an attorney you can trust for your real estate closings? Wisdom Law Firm at Lake Martin has you covered. Your real estate transactions are fast, convenient, and professional every step of the way. Wisdom Law is certified and licensed by the American Land and Title Association and approved by all local lenders. Visit Wisdom Law Firm at 6366 Highway 49 in Dadeville or at their Auburn location at 2353 Bent Creek Road. No communication concerning a lawyer's legal services shall be published or broadcast unless it contains the following language, which shall be clearly legible or audible as the case may be. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
For more than 40 years, Ingram Equipment Company has helped companies, towns, and cities with their dirtiest, most challenging jobs by providing the very best equipment and by helping them keep in tip-top working condition. IEC represents leading manufacturers such as Heil garbage truck bodies, Timco sweepers, Step pothole patchers, and many more. We proudly support all athletes and teams that compete across the state and wish them good luck this year. Ingram Equipment Company, ingramequipment.net.
22 years selling the best brands. Opelika RV Center, Highway 280 Opelika, or shop us online 24/7 at opelikaRV.com.
You won't believe the deals you receive at Opelika RV.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Do want to thank all of our sponsors out there throughout the program, giving us the opportunity to come and bring you this program every Tuesday night. So we do want to say a tip of the cap to them. Appreciate them being part of our group. Luca, let's talk about this in Auburn this past yesterday. A lot went on with a hiring of John Cohen, who's the new AD coming over from Mississippi State, who was the AD there, but prior to that was the head baseball coach for several years, and now moves over. And within 30 minutes of his hiring, they tell Brian Harsin to hit the door. And not only did they tell him, they told Eric Keesaw and Brad Beadle and Derek Usher and Brad Laurenato, Drew Fabianich, Jeff Pittman, the whole basically 9 yards minus Jeff Smeding, to go ahead and just exit stage left for us and get the heck out of here.
I mean, they had to leave a couple of coaches there to just sort of make sure the team got on the bus, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this has been such a long time coming. He never should have been hired. We said this to begin with. And, I mean, you try to get behind him, but, I mean, he just wouldn't. It's just such a bad
Sometimes
cultural
you just don't want to fit.
It's just a bad cultural fit, and it made no sense. And it's almost like Alan Green did it only to make everybody mad. And, I mean –
But he could sacrifice for a year and a half for that kind of money. That's why, hey, he can make a culture.
He never has to work again if he doesn't want to.
No, exactly.
I mean, he's 46 years old, and he's got $15 million coming his way, $7.5 million coming in the next 30 days.
And not counting the 10 that he already has earned.
He's fine. Alan Green too. I mean, it's
that's what this is now in college athletics. You fail, you end up winning the lottery. I mean, these guys win when they sign their name on the dotted line. And let's be honest about it, Luke. Save Nick Saban here in the last decade and a half, most college coaches sign their name on the dotted line knowing that probably 75 to 80% of them are going to be fired. They get hired to be fired, especially in the SEC. I mean, how's Mike Leach's tenure going to end? He's going to end up being fired. He's going to be told to leave. Now, whether that's at the end of this year or next year or whenever, I mean, how is Billy Napier's tenure going to end at Florida? Probably going to end up being fired. I mean, most guys end up leaving the university because they're forced out. It's not because they retired. You don't see that anymore. Maybe they leave to go somewhere else, but most of the time it's because, especially in this league, the university said, look, we're parting ways with you.
And it's indicative of it's just the society now. It's win now, and nobody is going to be patient with you like, let him get his guys in there. Let's see what's going on. I mean, no, nobody's going to do that anymore. It's instant gratification from the transfer portal. And here's the thing. I mean, Auburn's got the money, but, I mean, they're going to – you keep hearing about Lane Kiffin. If it's Lane Kiffin, they're going to miss something. I don't know what it is, but they're going to have to pay him about $10 million a year. And if you had asked me 5 years ago, is Lane Kiffin worth $10 million a year, I'd said you're crazy. But
things have changed.
Things have changed. And now who else – their names all over the place, and that's immediately we've gone to. It's almost like Auburn fans want to erase this tenure, and I don't blame them. I mean, this was such a bad fit from the jump. I don't blame him for taking the job because it was, frankly, an easy check. He did go through a little bit of a personal ringer back in February with whatever happened. I mean, everybody says it was a conspiracy of the boosters or whatever. There was also sort of a public investigation about his treatment of some of the players.
And a lot of this stuff's coming out now, and you're starting to hear things.
And maybe, again, that always happens when somebody's fired. Maybe it is.
Right.
It didn't have to be necessarily so public, but he didn't do himself any favors, losing his last 5 games. And going to the bowl game in Birmingham and really playing poorly. And then this year, and I use the term loosely, the only quality win he has is Missouri.
Yeah, and that shouldn't have been.
I use that term very loosely. And
that was an accident. Let's be honest about it.
And his recruiting was just abysmal. He just didn't put forth the effort. And I mean, there was no other path for Auburn. Again, there may be some people who say you shouldn't do it now. And I've always been saying, hey, if it's got to be done eventually, it's got to be done immediately. And frankly, I think if anything, Auburn waited too long.
They did, in my opinion, too. But I can kind of see the chain of command, trying to get an AD, trying to prioritize, and then moving on. Although obviously it was it had already been predetermined, because 30 minutes after the AD was hired, Brian Harsin was canned. So this is not like they went into some closed door meeting. This had already been predetermined.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's Justin Hokanson or I think it's Justin Hokanson said he was on his way.
Yeah, to talk to
Harsin, and he got a call saying he's been fired. You might as well turn on around.
Yeah, he said, I'm just going to pull over and start working because there ain't nobody to go talk to now.
Yeah.
And I guess he was mad about something he wrote. But the bottom line is that Auburn will be looking for a new head coach, and I'm with you. I mean, you had to go ahead and part ways with a guy. It did no good, I think, for this team or this program to linger with a guy that, number one, he didn't look like he wanted to be there anymore, and number two, nobody wanted him there. So it was just bad all the way around. Sometimes it's just better to cut ties. So right now, Carnell Williams is your interim head coach, co-offensive coordinator, Will Friend, along with Ike Hilliard. Kendall Simmons will be on the offensive line. Joe Bernardi, the tight end coach. Mike Hartline will be quarterbacks coach, and I guess Jeff Smeding will still be involved as far as the defensive coordinator is concerned. So Jimmy Brumball on the defensive line. So several coaches still there, but going ahead and getting rid of these guys, and I hate to say it that way, but that's what it was. And it didn't take very long and we'd heard the rumblings about the relationship behind closed doors and how this group kind of had isolated themselves from everybody else from day one, from the jump. And it didn't take Carnell Williams long at all to say, look, man, well, we got to get rid of these guys. We'll make do with the rest of the year with what we got. So.
Yeah, and it has been strange. I thought that it would be more universally hailed. Among the fan base, it is, and I think it should be. But some of the players, I mean, I think it was Wesley Steiner came out with a tweet about, hey, I appreciated Harsin, which kind of shocked me. I was shocked.
You're going to have some guys that come out. They're just
Xavier Capers enters the transfer portal, which, again, if you want to be honest, then it's not that big of a loss. It's not like he was averaging 100 yards a game.
Right.
But it's a little strange to me, and I guess because Wesley Steiner wasn't even recruited by Harsin, was he?
I don't think
he was signed by Gus.
Right.
It's going to be.
I thought Josh Heupel had something that was really positive to say tonight when Kirk Herbstreit asked him about the defensive side of the football for Tennessee, and he said, look, when I got here, we were devastated by the transfer portal. He said, there's no other way I can really say it other than that. He said, and we're still having to build back on that side of the football. He said, fortunately, we weren't hit as bad on the offensive side. But he said, when you have coaching changes and you have turnover and you've got some, NCAA probes and things going on, you're going to have guys hightailing it out of town. And Xavier Capers isn't the first one to hit the portal. He's not going to be the last one to hit the portal. And you got to go where you feel like it's best for you. And that's the world we live in now. The new coach and the new coaching staff, however that ends up being for Auburn, they got to concentrate on who wants to be there and then the guys they want to bring in to add to this program. You can't worry about the ones that are trying to leave. Maybe you can talk them into staying. Maybe some of those guys will come back out of the portal because they can. But at the end of the day, man, you either want to be somewhere or you don't. And then there's plenty of other guys out there, if you get the right coach, that will want to be at Auburn and have an opportunity to play at the highest level in this conference. So, but it's taking a very small amount of time for Josh Heupel to turn around a team, and he still hadn't gotten them there yet. He said it. He said, we've got pieces that we've still got to – and Andy did a good job of breaking these rosters down. I think Tennessee's got like 30-something 4- and 5-star guys total on their roster.
But the difference they have is a quarterback who's going to be in the first round of the NFL draft.
Makes a big difference.
A quarterback makes all difference. You can have a team full of 5-stars. If you got a bunk quarterback, you're not going to be very good.
Right.
And you can have a team full of 3-stars, and if you got an all-world quarterback, I mean, see Auburn 2010, you'll be just fine.
Makes a big difference.
Want to bring up what Jim Hardy said. He said, Luke, you have 4 choices for the Auburn job. How much do you have to pay each to get? Matt Rule, Lane Kiffin, Deion Sanders, and Hugh Freeze. Well, I think obviously Matt Rule would probably be the cheapest because there wouldn't be a buyout.
Right.
And I'm guessing that his salary is not offset by the NFL thing. I don't know, but I'm guessing he'd be the cheapest. My guess is Lane Kiffin would be the most expensive in terms of a buyout plus the salary. Hugh Freeze would probably be among the cheapest in a way, even though he just signed this new contract.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a clause.
There's not much in there. I mean, look, the buyout's not going to be a huge issue there. And then Deion, man, I just don't even know. I don't even know where to start. I don't know what he'd command. I don't know.
He's only making $500,000 at Jackson State. So.
But and that's true. And but you know, maybe he goes, hey, if I'm going to a Power 5, though, you're going to pay me $10 million. Maybe I don't know. Or maybe he goes, you pay me $2 million. But
right.
he ain't going to say $2 million. Problem knows his worth.
No, of course he does. I mean, I think maybe it settles around 5 or 6 for him to start.
Maybe. Again, I have no idea. I think you're leaving out a couple of candidates. I think Jeff Grimes would probably be in the discussion. Man, I
hope not.
I don't have any idea where this Auburn thing is going to go. If you just look at Auburn Twitter, you know, a lot of them are on the primetime train. A lot of them are on the Lane train. I don't see a lot of people pushing for Matt Rule. I think that could be a really good hire. That's probably the safest hire, if you ask me, of everybody. But then, and you brought up Hugh Freeze, I just think that's a non-starter. I don't think that's happening. But now Jeff Grimes, I think, is in the discussion. So my 4 that I think will be in there is Rule, Kiffin, Grimes, maybe Deion, and then that.
I think Grimes' name was brought up early, but that name – to me, has really died in a lot of circles. And it may be brought back up. And I think if Rich McGlynn would have been hired or if
he's still there, though.
I'm talking about as the AD.
I know, but McGlynn
is he's still there. And then if they'd have hired Hartwell from Utah State, he had some connections with Jeff Grimes. I think there might be a little bit more talk about that.
Somebody brought up the fact that in one sports book, Mike Leach is like the 5th highest odds to get the job. I do not see that at all.
Oh, that's a joke.
But, boy, you want to talk about, if you ask me, that would be, as an Alabama fan, please, for the love of all things holy, go get you some Mike Leach.
Yeah, nobody wants Mike Leach. So. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that. So I don't think that's even being discussed. So anyway, up against another break. Stay tuned. More Sportz Blitz Live right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to call and check in, see how everything's going. You'll probably say not to worry. Everything is great. But we miss you. I'll call you back later.
No. Everything's great. I love it here.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Scott Blake.
I'm Angie Richardson, and we are the loan team here at Movement Mortgage.
Whether you're a first-time home buyer or you've gone through the process before,
Our mission is to help you move forward with the purchase of your future plans. Call me at 256-397-2771.
or call me at 256-794-1003.
Scott Blake, NMLS number 527945. Angie Richardson, NMLS number 216556. Movement Mortgage supports equal housing opportunity, NMLS number 39179. For licensing information, please visit NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
This is Joseph Dean with Alabama Funeral Homes. As many of you are aware, we had a fire that significantly damaged our facilities. We were in the process of getting those rebuilt. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused the families that we serve. I want you to know that we are capable of handling all of your needs at Frederick Dean Funeral Home of Opelika, which will be servicing Alabama Funeral Homes families. We can be reached at our same number, 256-896-4502, or by email at joseph@alabamafuneralhomes.com.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Hey guys, this is Nate Pass with Airport Motors.
I'm Connor Branch with Fairway Auto Brokers in Opelika, Alabama.
And this is your first ever Lake Martin Summer Car Blitz.
That's right, Lake Martin. Airport Motors and Fairway Auto Brokers is teaming up for the very first Lake Martin Summer Car Blitz. Make sure to check out either website for the very best selection of pre-owned luxury trucks, SUVs, and sedans in East Alabama. Get pre-approved in minutes online and make sure to use the keyword Summer Blitz in the comments section for $500 off internet price. That's keyword Summer Blitz.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Talking about the hire at Auburn as far as the athletic director. John Cohen comes over from Mississippi State and was the head baseball coach there from 2009 to 2016. Took them to a College World Series. Good friend of ours from this area played for him at Mississippi State, and Kendall Grayman, who is now part of the Chicago White Sox, part of the Houston Astros last year that made the World Series against the Braves. But Butch Thompson coached under John Cohen, and when it came time for Butch Thompson to be hired at Auburn, John Cohen had a lot to do with that. You know, he gave Butch Thompson rave reviews and really pushed for him and to get that job. So they've got a tight relationship there, so it's no secret that Butch Thompson excited that John Cohen is now the new athletic director. Bruce Pearl, who a lot of people wait to hear what he says, that wear orange and blue, came out and was very supportive as far as the hiring. Of course, what else are you going to say? You're not going to come out.
Bruce Pearl's also real supportive of Harsin.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he was very supportive of Gus Malzahn. I think what he did was he coexisted with Brian Harsin. I think Bruce Pearl tried to help Brian Harsin kind of become more entangled in the Auburn student body and do some things like that. And I think Brian Harsin maybe tried a little bit or showed some type of effort. But I think that's just what Bruce Pearl does. Bruce Pearl is going to try to embrace and try to unify everybody, because at the end of the day, you all win if everybody's all on the same page. I don't think he overly went out of the way to be buddy-buddy with Brian Harsin. I just think he paid him professional courtesy and said, look, man, I'll help you if you want some help. But if you want to stay over there and be a hermit, stay over there and be a hermit. So Bruce Pearl's always going to show support for the football program no matter who the head football coach is going to be. He does the same for baseball, does it for gymnastics, he does it for softball, he does it for every sport down there. I think that's kind of what makes him who he is. But anyway, he comes out in support of John Cohen. Look, this was a guy that just signed a 3-year extension with Mississippi State not too long ago. He's got Mississippi State in his blood. He spent a lot of time over there at Mississippi State, but getting an opportunity to come over to another place and his name wasn't in that original group that was being discussed. And then all of a sudden this past weekend it kind of came up and he was hired. So all right, so talking about these coaching potentials, and we'll go through some of these. And Andy did some pros and cons, and there's pros and cons to everybody out there. But if we wanted to start, Deion Sanders at Jackson State, he's only been a head football coach this is his third year now. So from a con standpoint, it's inexperience, maybe too much personality for some fan bases, maybe something as far as him not being able to coexist with some of the power brokers at some of these bigger schools. That could be a con. The positives, the pros of hiring a Deion Sanders, Hall of Famer, a winner, a marketer, recruiter, self-proclaimed old school coach that can really get to these players and get them to kind of play for him and kind of get them to buy in. He's a unifier. He's kind of that guy that kind of brings everybody in, no matter if it's the fan base or it's the old alumni or whatever. But him taking a jump and taking a big job, it's a risk. There's no doubt about it.
It's a big time risk. I mean, he could be the highest ceiling, lowest floor candidate in there. You just don't know. There's so many unknowns. I mean, he hadn't been a coach very long, like you said. There's something to go back about 10 years ago where there was some kind of issue with whatever his school was that he started was called. There was some big issue there. But again, I don't know. I just don't know. He is the biggest unknown. Yeah, I think that he kind of fits personality-wise. I mean, he's sort of a swag surfing guy, and Auburn's sort of a swag surfing school. But the thing about that, all that stuff's cool, but let's say you go on a couple of game losing streak, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, swag surfing ain't as much fun. I'm saying that, the roller coasters of Auburn are incredible. I mean, the ups and the downs. And I think that's what you'd get with Deion a lot of times. You'd get some games that just you beat the number one team in the country like Gus has had. It'd be a lot of 2017 type years, if you ask me, where you could beat the number one team in the country, but you could lose Tennessee at home. That's what I would see.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a I guess from an unknown standpoint, how he would be able to handle that, because he's built Jackson State. Jackson State, number one, very, obscured. He brought the attention to Jackson State. Jackson State didn't bring the attention to Prime. He brought it to them. And he's got them on a run like they've never had before. I mean, they won 11 games last year. They're 8-0 this year. They just blew out Southern. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely changed the culture and got people believing, and he's made a winner out of that program. But it's different in this league. This is a meat grinder league, and, if you do lose a couple games, how do you handle it personally? The microscope is right on top of you. So kind of closing that out before we get to our next break, somebody is going to hire Deion Sanders at some point. He's already basically opened the door with that 60-minute interview that he had. He's like, look, I'd be stupid not to entertain, some of these offers. And, he brought the interest, and he made a big point about the HBCUs, and I can get top recruits to come play for HBCUs. You ain't got to go to Florida State or Alabama or Georgia or whoever. I can get you to come here and you can be successful. But he also basically said he ain't getting that kind of money at Jackson State. And if he wants to make that kind of money and showcase what he can do, it's going to take him taking a jump to a bigger school.
Yeah, it certainly would. And I just don't know. It's sort of funny. He got into the role almost altruistically. Like, I want to build up the HBCUs. Right. And
he's done a great job with them.
To bail on them, I mean, there are some people who probably look down on that. I look at it as just the way of the world, but I get why some people would look at that with a frown, but it just sort of is what it is. Again, he's the biggest unknown on there to me. The immediate reaction, I saw one Auburn writer say this would be as big a hire as Nick Saban, which just blows my mind how dumb that is. There's never going to be another Nick Saban, ever. Alabama fans need to know it. Everybody needs to know it. Nobody's ever going to do what he's done. So that's just out of the question. But it could be a very energetic hire. There is no doubt about it. And it could bring a big spotlight to Auburn for a while. And, you know, he could bring in some recruits. There's no doubt about it. Long term, is he the answer, though? That's the thing. And some Auburn fans are like, I don't care about the long term. Come in there for 3 or 4 years, bring some guys, and then see what happens. It's hard to say because
I think the day and age of when you say long term, a 15, 17-year coach is over. I think whenever Nick Saban decides to retire.
No. What about Kirby? What about Dabo?
I don't know, man.
What about Ryan Day?
I mean, Ryan Day's been at Ohio State how long?
I'm trying to – let's think.
He's been there 4 years?
4 years. I mean, let me tell you something. He ain't going anywhere.
Well, I mean, he might not, but, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen to coaches. There's a lot of things that happen in real life that determine your longevity at a place. I'm not saying that, you know, he would be fired, which you don't know. He could go on some type of losing streak and lose handle on what's going on at Ohio State, and he could be tossed in 2 years. I mean, you know, like you said earlier, the love for somebody lasts about this long.
Yeah, and I don't – look, again, I think –
watch Tennessee. Okay, I hear what you're saying about Kirby Smart, but let Tennessee go on about a 3-year run of whipping their tail and going to the East Championship or representing the East. Now all of a sudden the luster is off Kirby Smart, and he's over there trying to fight to get his team back. I mean, I'm just saying that the odds of somebody being somewhere 15 years
it's certainly less.
Is very, very less.
Well, and again, all you got to do is just look at this Brian Harsin tenure. I mean, really, we know because we're closer to the situation. I think nationally it's looked upon as Auburn just didn't give that guy a chance. And that's – I will, as an Alabama fan, will say that's wrong. They gave him more than a chance. If you were in this area, you'd know he ain't the dude. And so
he didn't help himself. He didn't go out and try to get any recruits.
Agreed. I'm saying I think Auburn did 100% the correct thing. And in fact, if anything, they waited too long. So, but I think you're right that the 15-year tenure of just regular team, like they're not going to be any more. There's not going to be any more Shug Jordan.
No, there's no Vince Dooley's. There's no Pat Dyes. There's no Johnny Majors. There's no Bear Bryant's. There's, you know, I think those days are over, man. I just think that you got so much from hopping around and the way culture is and society, it just makes it very difficult. Now, Kirby Smart may end up being at Georgia 20 years. I don't know. But it's just not the age of where when me and you grew up, we had a coach that was there for 15 years or there for at least 12 years, you know, and moving forward.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there some of the old school coaches that were like a Jerry Claiborne at Kentucky, who I guess was there for a long time. I don't know exactly how long. I just remember him from my youth being there, always being Kentucky's coach. Like, people aren't going to probably give it. But, you know, Mark Stoops may screw around and be at Kentucky 15 years now. It's sort of weird to think about.
Yeah, he may end up being because Kentucky fans are happy with what he's bringing because they haven't had that kind of consistency, even though he hasn't really won anything. The ones before him, though, the Joker Phillips and who was the guy that coached Tim Couch that wore the
he's dead now.
I know, but I mean those guys.
What was his name?
Not a lot of.
Shoot, well, I can't remember his name. The quarterback coach.
Exactly. I'm looking right at him. So.
I know.
But you're right. I mean, every coaching job isn't created equal either. Mm-hmm. You know, Kentucky, you go and you be an eight-game winner. Your fan base is happy because you're producing. You know, and I thought, here's the thing, when we get to our next break, I look back and some Tennessee fan had posted the last 20 years results in the Tennessee-Kentucky game. And it just feels like over the last 10 years, Kentucky's won a bunch of them. They've won 2.
Yeah, Kentucky has not.
They've won 2.
Kentucky to Tennessee is a lot like Arkansas to Auburn. I mean, it just you might think Arkansas they hadn't been in the hunt.
They hadn't. I mean it's just
they won this weekend.
And the reason I bring that up is Tennessee's been about as bad as they've been in their school's history.
That's just the one team that they can't get over the hump.
They can't get over the hump. So up against another break, top of the hour, coming back, hour number 2 right after this.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau tri-tunes, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
Sherry Reese, candidate for Alabama State Senate District 27, showed the ultimate devotion to her country and her community, serving 24 years in the Army, willingly putting her life on the line to protect yours. Sherry Reese stands ready to engage on the political issues that matter to you and is equipped to deal with the challenges our communities face. Service, community involvement. On November 8th, put some boots on the ground. Vote Sherry Reese for Alabama State Senate.
Forbes Auto Sales, located on Highway 280 in Kellyton, is all about selection and service. Selection of clean, sharp used cars, trucks, and SUVs selected by Robert Forbes himself. Service. Forbes Auto Sales is all about servicing vehicles on the lot, but also servicing your personal vehicle. Keep this in mind. If you don't see what you're looking for on the lot, just tell old Robert to go shopping for you. That's what he does. Personal service, and that's what it's all about at Forbes Auto Sales in Kellyton.
The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Why is Sarah Automotive Group on Highway 280 in Sylacauga the place for the best deals on your new ride? 3 compelling reasons. 1, with 3 full new car dealers on one lot, you get the best in comparison and incentives on Fords, Hondas, and Nissans. Unmatched selection. 2, Sarah pays over market value for your trade to maintain East Central Alabama's best pre-owned vehicle selection and sales. And 3, the Sarah Automotive price won't be beat and delivers lower payments and huge value on your next buy. Shop online or on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
Welcome back, hour number 2 of Sportz Blitz Live, presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. And let's go to the phone lines. Got a couple calls.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Guys, how y'all doing tonight?
What's up, Terry?
I've been worried about you, wondering what you're going to hate on now with Brian Arson gone.
He can still hate on him.
Yeah.
Well, Luke, are you still mad at me? You called me a troll yesterday on the Auburn Blitz.
Did I call you a troll?
Yeah, I think you did. I was what you think you said, Luke, was I was trolling the Birmingham radio market for a while.
I wasn't even on the Auburn Blitz yesterday. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm mistaken then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Luke's like, I know I talk about people, but I forgot about that one.
Listen, I might have said a lot of things. That wasn't it.
Well, they say the first thing to go is your memory.
Yeah. I mean, look, we both need to take some Prevagen.
Leaving the building.
Yeah.
I guess I had to find something else to harp on. How they got rid of Harsin, but the happiest people in the world has got to be Doug Barfield's relatives because he's not the worst coach in Auburn history no more.
Yeah, but if I'm their relatives, I'm like, we didn't get $15 million.
There ain't no doubt.
Did Harsin? What was the question Orgeron asked? How fast you want to walk? What door you want to go through?
That's
something like
right.
that.
That's exactly right.
Harsin didn't even get that opportunity, though. It sounds like, obviously, I have never seen a more unceremonious exit than that one. I mean, in the press release, they don't even mention his name.
And I don't know. I haven't confirmed this if it's 100% true or not. But I was told yesterday that I said, was Harsin in the football complex? And they like, yeah, he showed up that morning, just like always, and was like going out to get something out of his car, and they said, by the way,
while you're out there, just get on in.
I mean, it was like your job. You lost your job.
Yeah.
You've been fired. I mean, it's kind of one of those deals.
And Terry, look, here's the other thing, man. I was teasing with you earlier, but I've been 100% on your side. There's no way this was ever going to work. And now, as an Alabama fan, I loved it, and I wish he'd had signed a 10-year contract. But as a college football fan and a realist, I mean, I just looked around and going, what on earth? It's almost like Alan Green was pulling a practical joke.
Well, did y'all know that his daughter had come to Tiger Talk with him a number of times wearing Boise State paraphernalia?
I can believe it.
Now that's just a lack of class is what it is. That gives validity to what I've said, that his family was never happy in Auburn. And when you come 3,000 miles, it's a culture shock. Let's be honest. It'd be the same thing if somebody from Auburn moved to Boise.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the handwriting was on the wall. I think he probably knew that he had coached his last football game at Auburn. He made the press wait 90 minutes Saturday for the
I think 3 weeks ago
for the press conference, and then he had gone in and changed clothes and came out in just a plain white shirt. He didn't have any Auburn garb on. So I think he knew, and I think that was a parting middle finger to the media. I think the way he answered the questions was a middle finger. So I think he already knew. If he didn't know when it was coming, he knew it was just a matter of time.
Well, I'm just curious what you guys think about what kind of time frame we're looking at. Are you looking at maybe when the clock hits zeros and Alabama beats Auburn 52-0, or that happens then, or it happened before then? Because if it's certain people, they're not doing a whole lot right now. Now the guy just got fired at Carolina, Matt Rule. Is that guy the name right?
That's right.
Well, if that guy's getting $40 million, I tell you what I'd do. If I was getting $40 million, it's absolutely nothing.
No,
I'd be real good at it too.
And look, he's probably laughing at what Harsin got.
We all made bad choices in careers. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, I can be a terrible football coach.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I'm
terrible at this, and you only give me much at all.
And you still keep showing up.
Still keep waiting for y'all to give me a buyout.
I know it. Unfortunately, the buyouts around here just don't carry much weight.
25 years being terrible at my job, so I was glad to get out of there.
Well, Terry.
Now our buyouts are bye, see your way out.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Terry. I thought about this today. How many coaches in SEC history have been what we considered in the moment unlikable? Like, nobody liked Steve Spurrier when they were getting good because he was making fun of everybody except Florida fans. And now I think Steve Spurrier's turned into kind of a lovable character. I mean, some of these coaches that have been fired in weird ways or, were at one time thought, oh, man, I just could never get along with that guy. Lane Kiffin, for example. They end up being very likable. Brian Harsin is not going to have that redemption story. He has not.
And if you can ever entertaining as well.
Well, and I think Alabama, if you go to the Alabama Paul Bryant Museum on campus, it's like Mike Dubose never existed. There's nothing in there of Mike Dubose. Even the year that they went to the SEC championship game and won it against Florida, he's not part of any picture. There's nothing. It's like he got erased. And he was at Alabama how long? 3 years?
Didn't he play at Alabama?
He played at Alabama.
4 years.
But there's a head coach for 4 years, longer than that if you want to add assistants. Brian Harsin was basically at Auburn for a year and a half. And I'm telling you, there will be no sign that he ever was at Auburn if you're looking in the next 2 or 3 years.
What was his biggest win? At a bad LSU team?
That or the Ole Miss win at home last year.
I guess Ole Miss win at home last year was his biggest win.
Yeah. So he's going to be erased. He's going to be like he never existed.
There'll be no Bill Engvall saying, "Here's your sign," right?
That's exactly right. So
yeah. What kind of time frame do y'all think we have getting a head coach, and who do y'all think of? Now y'all know what camp I'm in. So,
I know
that goes without saying. But I mean, is that just too obvious to understand? What you got thoughts on that? I'm curious.
I just don't see it happening. I just don't. I mean, I guess it could be obvious. Honestly, I think he has the lowest ceiling of a Lane Kiffin, Deion Sanders, even a Matt Rule. I think if you're asking me to rank those 4 coaches who would be the most dangerous on a national level, Hugh Freeze would be the last one to me.
Yeah, see, I agree with you a little bit there, Luke. But I think Lane Kiffin will be the most dangerous coach.
Well, I think most dangerous for Auburn and most dangerous for everybody else potentially because
I still think Lane Kiffin ends up in San Francisco at some point in his career as the coach of the 49ers. I really believe that because he's a West Coast guy, and I think
I do not.
Sing out the 49ers, but there's going to be a team out there he goes to.
There is no doubt to me, though, if USC called again, Lane Kiffin would bolt from wherever he is because, I mean, that's just the kind of dude he is.
Yeah, he's not going back out there. Hey, Terry, we got to get to this other call, brother. Thank you, buddy.
Take care, guys. Have a great night.
All right, you too, man.
Appreciate Terry's call always. And now we got another caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Okay, let me mute my TV. How you guys doing tonight?
What's up, Morris?
Just doing perfect.
Okay. I was going to run a couple of things. I know the coach I was thinking about at Kentucky was Hal Murray. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Mike Leach might have been there at the same time. I know Mike Leach studied under Hal Murray at some point.
He was.
And I was going to mention this Dubose. I heard the guy before me talking about him, but that's the biggest mistake Alabama ever made. He should have been fired when they found out all that about his secretary. But I don't know whether he was the last one that this has been done to, but, you know, they allowed him to coach out the year after they fired him. And I can remember that Alabama-Auburn game that year. It was slushy, cold, rainy. And I thought Tommy Tuberville just got so sorry that he didn't want to beat us anymore. If I remember, it was really close, you know, not a close score, but I think it could have been run up.
It was 9-0. I was there, and it was just the worst conditions for a football game you could possibly imagine.
My good friend was a quarterback for Auburn, Ben Leard, and he remembered. He tells a story how odd that game was, and nobody was really even talking on the field. Everybody was kind of miserable. It was kind of like, man, we just need to get this over with. It was sleeting during the game, and Alabama didn't have a good football team, and Auburn was trying to just get up there and get through and go through the motions to win. Auburn kicked 3 field goals that day. It was weird.
Well, I can remember that I always thought Tommy Tuberville did us a favor and not slaughter us. Of course, it was such bad weather, you know, it could be they just wanted, like you're saying, get home.
I don't think he was doing a favor. I think he was trying as hard as he could, but it was so nasty.
Yeah,
I mean, it was disgusting there. And I remember Alabama was actually favored by 2 points, and I remember this because I may or may not have been talked into betting on Alabama when I said, y'all, we stink. We're awful. Everybody wants to go home. I want to go home. I don't know why I'm at this game. Please let me bet on Auburn. Nobody would. So I lost my money, I was freezing, I got sick. It was just the worst experience.
Yeah, and then you've got a lame duck coach on the sideline that you watched it. Now I supported Mike Dubose. You know, I done Red Elephant Club and went to different things, and I support him, but I thought it was the biggest mistake Alabama made when they hired him. But before I get off, Luke, and I know y'all get close to break, and I'll hang up and listen, but I wanted you to – I've heard some mention – I don't keep up with recruiting anymore, but something about some high-quality quarterback or something that's Saban's on. Can you comment on that when I hang up?
I will. Appreciate it, Morris.
All right, you take care.
Thank you, buddy.
I will talk about the quarterback. Remind me that when we come back. But
Okay.
I wanted to say something else first along the same lines. You know, I don't read a ton. I know you're shocked. But when I do read, I like it to be these books. I read books that usually just sort of stick with me. This book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It's an old book, but it's still it haunts me. It's such a good book. It's all about intuition, essentially. Like when you see something sometimes. The first story was about a museum curator who was called to evaluate this statue they brought in that was painted by somebody, or not, created by somebody and sculpted by somebody, and it's supposed to be worth $1 gazillion. And they were so proud, and they take the blanket off of it, and there's the statue, and she goes, I hope you kept a receipt, in a minute. And everybody was like, wait a minute, we know this is this. And she was like, I'm telling you, something's off. Come to find out, something was wrong with it. There was some kind of forgery or some kind of something. And the point is that we go through life and we see all these things. Our intuition is our mind calculating so quickly, beyond our comprehension, what is right. But then we almost immediately follow that up with not gut instinct, but
maybe I'm
our
wrong.
own biases.
Well, yeah, that's right, right. Well, maybe I'm off.
So, but here's my thing, where I'm getting to this. I'll never forget this as long as I live, because I was one of those idiots who was begging for Mike DuBose to be hired. I was begging for him. I was like, he deserves it. He should get it. That's his job. Gene Stallings, he's been loyal. He will recruit. I know he's the best recruiter we got on the staff, and he loves the University of Alabama. And that day when he was finally announced, I went to watch his press conference. And I immediately, my first reaction, I'll never forget this, was, I've made a horrible mistake. And then I started selling myself on it again that, some people do go up to the press conference the first time they get $1 million gig with their shirt untucked.
With a bowl cut.
With a bowl cut and their shirt untucked. And they go, they pick their nose and stuff. I guess some people do that. No, they don't. They don't do that. And then when I saw Mike Price get off the plane wearing a members only jacket that was a medium when he's a double X, I thought to myself, that man can't win here.
We've done it again.
But then I talked myself into it.
Let your biases
your subconscious biases eat
your
at you.
brain's telling you you're right.
But see, this is the same thing with Harsin. If all you had to do was look at Brian Harsin, the first picture I ever saw of Brian Harsin with his family in the stadium, and Terry will say,
we all talked about this.
Looked like Saved by the Bell cast, and I said this will not work at Auburn.
And look, rightfully or wrongfully, we passed. There were comparisons about, we won't go into detail, but what each one looked like and who. I mean, that's how far out of
acid wash jeans aren't going to work at Auburn anymore.
That's how far out of touch it was. And look, and something stood out to me with the Brian Harsin press conference when you go back, that when you bring your coach in, your family's there, and you bring them up there, his was nowhere to be found. I don't remember even seeing his wife. I don't remember seeing his kids. It was just like, here's this guy. Here's, and you remember how quickly it was done. It was kind of off the cuff. Like he flew in and left his family back, and they'll be back later and all this kind of, and it was like, man, just, we all told ourselves on the Auburn Blitz, okay, this was out of left field. This has shocked the media. Nobody saw this guy coming. Maybe Alan Green's smarter than the rest of us, and maybe he knows something that we don't, and maybe this is what Auburn needed. We were trying to, like you said, to convince ourselves that, look, this was the right deal when we all knew, looking at it on the surface, we all knew it was bad news.
Look, so what I'm trying to say, sort of half-heartedly joking, if you're getting married this weekend and while you're up there and she's walking down the aisle, or if you are her walking down the aisle and you go, I've made a horrible mistake, just run. You'll figure out the rest of it later. Everybody will get over it. They'll have to take their toasters and gifts back, but that's better than dealing with, in 3 years you realize you made a mistake.
Yeah. I have to back you
I'm sort of joking, but I'm kind of not.
Yeah, you're really not joking. So there's that intuitive.
Yeah, I know.
Again. All right, stay tuned for Sportz Blitz Live right after this.
No monthly payment till after the holidays at Glenn Smith in Opelika.
Enjoy big discounts on Chevrolet Buick and GMC SUVs. How about a brand new Chevrolet Buick or GMC with no payments till next year? New Chevy Equinox as low as $329 a month. New Buick Enclaves up to $5,000 off. New GMC Terrains up to $6,000 off.
Get 0% financing, no payments till next year at Glenn Smith in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
There's only one clear choice in the Lake Martin area for plumbing, heating, and air. That's All Clear Plumbing and Air. Our professionally trained technicians offer full service repair and installation on all major brands. From drips to water heaters, thermostats to entire air conditioning and heating systems, and everything in between. Our fast, reliable, and guaranteed top-notch customer service will keep you informed and up to speed through the entire process. Call us today or look for us on Facebook and Instagram at All Clear Plumbing and Air, 256-496-2056. License number 19172.
I'm Jimmy Goree with Goree's Furniture. We would like to invite you to come shop our huge selection of furniture. But if you don't have time, we have over 2,000 items you can have shipped directly to your home. Go to GoreesFurniture.com, look for 48-hour quick ship. Shop, click, ship, it's just that easy. You can shop us here, or you can shop us online, only at Goree's Furniture.
Your express way to saving.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy mowers and Kimco scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your Ariat workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live, presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heat and Air. About 40 minutes left in tonight's show. Some good calls. I appreciate everyone that calls us. You can, if you would like, 256-234-6221. You can also comment away on Facebook Live.
I have to tell you about that quarterback Morris asked.
Yeah, let's go back to the quarterback.
So quarterback Julian Sayin from California, the #3 quarterback in the country, 5